Hi, and welcome to this webinar on two-step migrations with AWS Outposts. My name is Evan Glemestad. I'm a principal Outpost specialist here at AWS. Today, we're going to discuss how you can use Outposts to modernize and migrate on-premises workloads to AWS. The topics we'll cover are a look at the business benefits of migrating to AWS. We're going to dive into the nature of two-step migrations, whether you should modernize or lift and shift. We're going to talk about AWS CloudEndure and how you can use it with Outposts. We're going to look at some examples of modernization, and then we'll finish it off with a look at programs and partners to accelerate the migration journey. But before we dive headfirst into what two-step migrations with Outposts entail, I wanted to take a moment to reiterate why businesses and organizations have decided to migrate to AWS. While there are many different drivers for customers to initiate a journey to AWS, maybe you're driven by a compelling event, such as a cost objective. Maybe there's a target date to exit or consolidate data centers, or there's end of life of hardware or software. Now, boards of directors also expect more than just cost savings and efficiency. Sometimes they want to be able to move faster, transform customer experiences. They might want to be able to deliver digital transformations or modernize the business. They might want to reinvest cost savings as well to drive new innovations and business models. Now, through analyzing thousands of migrations, we found three main reasons why customers take this step. Agility is a key long-term benefit. You gain agility and build a foundation for innovation by migrating and modernizing your environment. It results in operational efficiency, which produces substantial cost savings and frees up resources to focus on differentiators. And with AWS, you reduce risk by migrating with a secure and proven approach that moves you to a more resilient IT model. So lowering TCO, or total cost of ownership, is now table stakes for any migration project, and migration drives real business outcomes, delivering value to companies. These are examples of some of the real outcomes that have been achieved by some of our customers, like, for example, GE, that realized a 52% reduction in their total cost of ownership, or TCO. You have Avizia and Bustle, who both say they reduced their operational staff by about 50%. Intuit does deployments in a fifth of the time now, and Condé Nast said that they achieved a 15% increase in availability after moving to AWS. So companies that are successful in their migration usually start by doing a deep analysis on potential savings, and we can help you build a business case to learn the TCO impact. But we recommend that you go even deeper than that and look into the overall impact of migration on your business, because companies that do make tangible headway into optimizing their cloud usage. Now, while the benefits of migrations are many, we also know enterprise-scale migrations can sometimes be challenging. It's a disruptive process for your business and IT organization specifically, and you must deal with some complex challenges, including deconstructing and understanding the on-premises technical environment, changing your operational processes, and helping your organization through cultural change, among other issues. So should you try to migrate everything in one go? The challenges mentioned earlier could be inhibitors to easily move everything off your existing infrastructure and into the AWS cloud. Now, if this doesn't apply to you and you can easily lift and shift or modernize applications directly to the region, that's great, and you should continue doing that. But some customers also told us that they would like help untangling the complex relationship between applications on premises before undertaking a migration. Or they might need to help their staff get used to running workloads in AWS. Or maybe they would just prefer taking an overall more staged approach to reinvention as part of a multi-year migration strategy. Our response to this request is working with our customers to enable what we call two-step migrations with Outposts. Now, we'll get into the details of how this works later, but first, let's talk about what AWS Outpost is. So with AWS Outpost, you will have the same hardware and software infrastructure and a consistent set of services and tools across your AWS cloud and on-premises environments to build and run modern cloud-native applications anywhere. AWS Outposts are fully managed racks of infrastructure, and they're delivered, installed, and supported by AWS. And AWS automatically manages and updates Outposts as part of the ongoing operation in the AWS region. You do not have to worry about updating or patching any infrastructure. Customers can use the same AWS console to view and manage their resources, whether those resources or services are in the AWS region or on premises. You can also use the same AWS CLI and SDKs as you use today and run and deploy applications, using the API endpoints as you use today to run applications in the region. We've launched a number of features and services on Outpost as well. For example, EC2 and EBS for virtual servers or instances, S3 for object storage, RDS for managed databases, and EKS or ECS for fully managed container services. Now, I'll get back to some of these services later, but I wanted you to have an overview, at least some of the services that are available on Outpost today. And we keep adding to this list of services all the time. So the question then is, how does Outpost enable a staged approach to migration, enabling modernization of workloads on premises before a later migration to a region? Well, deploying Outpost on premises enables a modernize immediately, migrate when able approach. We start this process by deploying an Outpost and extending your virtual private cloud or VPC on premises. Once the storage and compute capacity is deployed, you now have the breadth and depth of AWS services also available on premises. Some services will be served from the Outpost itself, others will be served from the region, but they're fully integrated. At this point, you start migrating your workloads one by one onto the Outpost. In a process, you might decide to modernize some, like moving from a self-managed database, for example, to Amazon RDS, which is a fully managed database. Or you might use a service like CloudEndure to lift and shift existing servers and transform them into AWS EC2 instances automatically. One of the main drivers, though, for why customers need to keep some applications on premises is there's always going to be some size latency gap between your on-premises infrastructure and the nearest region. And we can't overcome that without overcoming the speed of light. And there's no way we know so far that allows us to do that. So some workloads that need very low latency, such as a set of application servers analyzing real-time data stored in a database, they have to run all together, now either in the region or all on the premises. The two-step approach allows you to do this modernization on premises, and when all the pieces that make up the entire solution are running on the Outpost, it's almost as easy as just flicking a switch, and you can move them all together to the AWS region. This is why we call it two-step. The first step is modernizing all the pieces of the solution on premises first, and then the second step is moving all those pieces to the region as a combined package. And because Outposts offer the same features and performance parity with the region, you can rest easily knowing that if your application runs well on Outpost, it will run exactly in the same way in the AWS region. You can then do this migration in wave after wave, modernizing, then migrating, eventually having moved all your resources from your legacy infrastructure to the AWS region, and thus being able to either consolidate your data centers or shut them down altogether. One customer that took this approach is Morningstar. Now, Morningstar set out on a multi-year cloud migration journey with a goal of being 100% in on the AWS cloud. They needed to provide low latency, real-time investment research and insight to their customers. But they also wanted to eliminate the overhead associated with managing and monitoring different platforms for on-premises and cloud workloads. In addition, certain workloads had to remain on-premises for the near future. The solution was to deploy AWS Outposts into their existing data centers. They then started incrementally moving and modernizing the applications and workloads onto the Outpost, which lived side by side with their existing infrastructure. They were also able to augment their existing workloads with AWS services, which enabled their developers to write the same code, utilize the same services, whether they were running their workloads in AWS region or they had to run them in their own data centers. This approach accelerated their adoption of AWS across development teams and improved business operations and end user satisfaction. Now, customers also often ask us, should we modernize first, or should we just lift and shift all our workloads? Because Outpost is deployed on premises and you can work with one application at a time, the key here is that you don't have to choose one approach. You can mix and match based on what works best for the workload at hand. Well, we have a framework you'll be able to take advantage of in a migration. It's called the 7 R's. And there's more guidance and tools here than we have time to cover today, but I'd like to zoom in on a couple of them. The two are rehosting and replatforming. So let's talk about rehosting. Now, you would choose rehosting because it's minimally disruptive, requires minimal or no changes, and applications are lifted and then shifted sideways into an outpost. This approach maintains the architecture constructs of your existing servers, and it can be enabled with free tools. This also allows you to quickly move a certain set of workloads onto Outpost, and then you can tackle modernization of these later. Now, whether you do that modernization while the workloads are still on premises, or you can do them later in the region if that's what you choose. But it gives you flexibility to move fast. One AWS service that I'm particularly excited about is CloudEndure Migration. It's designed for rapid, mass-scale migration of servers and databases according to the rehosting approach. It's a simple setup, lets you start in minutes, and it eliminates the complexity and reduces the risk. It's also flexible. You can migrate away from any source, and it supports a wide range of operating systems, applications, and databases. And there is even an option to migrate back if you had to do that. It's also non-disruptive in that it provides a robust, predictable, continuous replication, which enables short cutover windows with minimal downtime for your users. It's also highly secure. And seeing as AWS CloudEndure Migration is also available free to all AWS customers, it's easy to implement it for quickly moving workloads from your existing legacy infrastructure onto an AWS Outpost. So while CloudEndure so far has been mainly used for migrations to the region, it also now supports Outposts, which means you can utilize Outpost as a target for a migration with the CloudEndure in 4 different cases. The first being from on-premises legacy infrastructure to Outposts, but it can also be used between 2 separate Outposts, for example, in 2 different locations, from an AWS region to Outposts, or from other clouds to Outposts. Now with CloudEndure, you can replicate all applications running on supported operating systems with CloudEndure migrations. This includes legacy applications, complex databases from pretty much any infrastructure into AWS. It supports all the common Windows and Linux versions and distributions, and you can migrate either from physical data center servers, VMware, Hyper-V, or other public clouds. It also supports legacy workloads, so legacy applications, and even homegrown applications. Now that we've taken a quick look at rehosting or lift and shift to Outpost, let's look at another approach. So while rehosting is fast, customers have also told us that for some older legacy workloads, they would actually prefer to modernize their workloads before undertaking a migration to an AWS region. Modernizing while still on premises might be the best approach for some workloads that are tightly coupled to existing infrastructure or databases, storage systems, and so on. A few examples of these are a move from legacy workloads to containers, modernization of mainframes, or enabling new systems or solutions such as CI/CD pipelines or a DevSecOps approach on premises. In addition to this, modernization with Outposts can also serve as a first step in a longer journey to a completely serverless application model. So diving into a few of these, let's start with containers. When it comes to containers, one of the most common requests we hear from customers is, help me decide which container service to use. AWS customers has a choice of fully managed container services, including Amazon Elastic Container Service or Amazon ECS, and Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Service or Amazon EKS. And both of these are available on Outpost today. Both services support a broad array of compute options, have deep integration with other AWS services, and provide a global scale and a reliability you come to expect from AWS. So how are they different? What customers tell us they love most about Amazon ECS is the simplicity it provides. ECS delivers an AWS opinionated solution for running containers at scale. It reduces the time it takes customers to build, deploy, or migrate their containerized applications successfully. ECS powers a growing number of popular AWS services. It's trusted by hundreds of thousands of customers, including Samsung, GE, Expedia, and Duolingo. Customers adopting containers at scale that are seeking powerful simplicity should start with Amazon ECS. Now, other teams choose Kubernetes for its vibrant ecosystem and community. It's got consistent open source APIs and broad flexibility. They rely on EKS to handle the undifferentiated heavy lifting of security and operating Kubernetes at scale. Amazon EKS provides the flexibility of Kubernetes with the security and resiliency of being an AWS managed service. EKS is optimized for customers building highly available shared services platforms based on open source. So customers like Intel, Snap, Intuit, and GoDaddy, they trust Amazon EKS to run the most sensitive and mission-critical applications. So customers adopting Kubernetes that want open flexibility should start with Amazon EKS. As containers running in Amazon ECS and EKS are also inherently transportable, AWS gives you a range of integrated compute options for where they can run. You can choose the right tool for the job and get the right blend of costs, performance, and features. With Fargate, a serverless container compute engine running in an AWS region, you only pay for the resources required to run your containers. It's suited for customers who do not want to worry about managing servers, handling capacity planning, or figuring out how to isolate container workloads for security. Now, EC2 instances in the region will offer the widest choice of instance types, including processors, storage, networking, and it's ideal for customers who want to manage or customize the underlying compute environment and host operating system. Now, moving away from the region, local zones are an extension of an AWS region. They're suited for customers who need the ability to place resources in multiple locations closer to the end user where these are available. Wavelength is ultra-low. It supports ultra-low latency, mobile edge computing, and is suited for 5G applications, is interactive and immersive experiences, and for connected vehicles. Outpost, as you know, can then be used to run your containers using AWS infrastructure on premises for a truly consistent hybrid experience. So regardless of whether you choose ECS or EKS, containers can be transported and run across any of these locations. Now let's jump over to another question on many customers' minds. How to modernize mainframes? Well, first of all, some of the drivers for modernizing mainframes across many industries are cost savings, where customers are looking at the operating and maintenance costs for mainframes. They're usually rising faster than those for any other form of computing. They're looking at the business risks because mainframes provide limited agility and scalability, which does result in some business risk. Competitiveness and customer responsiveness are constrained, and also MIPS are a finite resource. There's also a legacy skills shortage with an aging workforce maintaining legacy applications. It's also creating a need to modernize and migrate these mainframes. And in addition, they want to unlock some business value because the mainframes do hold a lot of very useful information, and they want to take that data out and then analyze it with, for example, AWS services. So looking at this, there are two approaches that we in AWS have to mainframe modernization. The first is a migration approach where the goal is often to shut down the mainframe in a 1 to 2 year time frame. We've developed an extensive program in AWS to enable this mainframe modernization. And it can either be done through things like hardware emulation, where the software stack is moved. It can be done through middleware emulation, where the code is ported and recompiled onto a middleware emulator. It can be done through automated refactoring, where code and data are automatically converted and refactored into a cloud-native stack. And the last approach is based on modern middleware replatforming, where applications and data are migrated to similar modern middleware running on AWS. The other approach is augmentation. This is where customers realize they have to keep the mainframe for maybe the foreseeable future, maybe a few years, but they also want to benefit from the AWS services on-premises in parallel. Examples of these benefits are data analytics, which includes both business analytics and operational analytics. Customers that want to use data replication techniques between the mainframe data stores and AWS data services, for example, in AWS Outpost, and then they can do the analytics on the AWS side. It can also be used to add new channels to augment their mainframes with new interfaces such as mobile or voice. Maybe for development and test, where they like to, rather than adding more capacity to the mainframes, they offload and scale development and test environments on AWS. And lastly, for backup and archival. Customers that want to replace their expensive backup and archival storage with cost-optimized cloud storage backup solutions. And both of these approaches can be enabled with Outposts. So seeing as mainframes scale vertically, AWS scales horizontally. And the migration tools we have and have developed facilitate this transition. Each workload can follow a different approach, which also means targeting possibly different services on AWS. Having both AWS Outposts and the mainframe running side by side allows this flexibility, and workloads can be tackled one at a time and moved to the Outpost or eventually moved onto the region. The next step, in addition to a rehosting or replatforming approach, is enabling the ultimate journey to the region. So a two-step migration approach can also enable staff to undertake a journey towards modern application development. Now, I'm not going to jump into every single one of these services, but I wanted to make the point that AWS does have the broadest and deepest set of services for modern application development. And with Outposts deployed on premises, fully integrated with the region and these services, it can enable developers to start working on new, more effective ways of developing applications. Some of these services can run on Outposts, such as Amazon S3, while others will run in the region, such as AWS CloudWatch or AWS Lambda. So now that we looked at the different ways of migrating onto an Outpost and then eventually move into a region, I wanted to talk a little bit about the programs available to help accelerate this journey. The first one is Migration Acceleration Program, or MAP. It's a comprehensive and proven cloud migration program that's the result of AWS's experience migrating thousands of enterprise customers. It packages best practices, expertise, tooling, and financial incentives to make cloud adoption easier, allowing customers to gain cloud benefits sooner. It's divided up into several parts, which are not just technical, but also include culture, methodology, and training. MAP is built on a three-phase journey to systematically help you accomplish the migration journey. MAP starts with the assess phase that includes a migration readiness assessment for your leaders and sponsors, along with a rapid discovery to support creation of a TCO model or total cost of ownership model to help you build business support for your migration project. The second phase is Mobilize, which includes Mobilize projects identified in the MRA to build your capabilities and get first-hand experience how easy it is to migrate to AWS. Mobilize includes 4 accelerators pictured here, and the level of activity required in these work streams is determined by the readiness level determined during the MRA. Mobilize activities include the actual migration of a recommended 3 to 5 application, which is how your teams build migration capabilities alongside migration experts from AWS or partners. Mobilize typically runs from 2 to 4 months and involves ProServe or a partner that prepares you for large-scale migration and operation, which is phase 3. During migration and modernization, you will continue to migrate waves of applications and operate and optimize your cloud environment and applications. AWS training and certification can also have a measurable impact on your migration. According to IDC, customers who implemented a comprehensive AWS training plan accelerate cloud adoption by 80%. They have fewer operational and performance issues and increase both staff productivity and retention. AWS also offers a variety of skills enablement activity. We have a library of over 500 free digital training courses, including AWS foundational training, available anytime and anywhere. We have more than 20 instructor-led courses, which include foundational, intermediate, and advanced training for roles such as architects, migration team members, operations, developers, and DevOps engineers, security, and machine learning. It's important to note that we have migration-specific training specifically designed to make your migration successful. Our certification program validates AWS skills, ensuring your migration and cloud teams have the skills needed for successful migration. We've also certified over 100 different AWS migration competency partners that can help you with your migration journey. These partners have large migration practices and experience delivering large-scale migration projects. For Outpost specifically, we've launched the AWS Outpost Service Ready program, offering a total of 64 solutions across 56 partners. To learn more about the Outpost Service Ready and for a comprehensive list of independent software vendor product offerings and qualified system integrators, please visit the Outpost website and click on the Partners tab. You'll there be able to see a list of all the partners and the services that they offer. So if you believe that a 2-step migration with Outpost is right for you, how do you get started? The first step is deploying the AWS Outpost capacity. To do this, you go to the console and browse through the Outpost catalog to find a configuration that best meets your needs. You can filter by instance types, EBS storage, services supported, and site constraints, such as power draw or network uplink. You'll then create a logical outpost with site and networking information. Once done, you can place an order right from the console. Once you place an order, our associates will get in touch with you to confirm the information. Within a few weeks, AWS associates will deliver to your site. They will install and configure the outpost and connect to the AWS region and with your local network. We can also install multiple racks at a site provided you have the power, space, cooling, and network connectivity to support it. When the outpost is installed and operational, you can then use management tools like CloudFormation and the AWS console to manage the capacity and create resources. You can also start using CloudEndure Migration to rehost existing workloads one at a time, or you can start modernizing your applications with containers. At this point, I'd like to open up for questions related to 2-step migrations with Outposts.